Wake up with a smile, and then in a while, come to lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies. Lunch with the ladies.
Welcome to the Libby Show, Lunch with the Ladies. On this episode, the ladies are talking soaps, and they are joined by special guest, 3-time Daytime Emmy winner, Cady McClain. So, let's have lunch with the ladies.
Welcome to Lunch with the Ladies. Today, we are talking the wonderful world of the soap opera. Though only 4 daytime soaps remain, the fan base is still quite alive. The soap opera, named after its soap company sponsors, is a unique genre. But it's been emulated and reproduced in many different forms. Many of our nighttime dramas are pretty much nighttime soaps, and they borrow elements from the genre. Multiple storylines, multiple families, domestic drama that unfolds over the course of many episodes, all part of the soap world. And we can't forget the people that die but don't really die. Here's a bit of trivia about soaps. The first soap opera was on the radio, started in 1930, and it was called Painted Dreams. The first TV show that was a soap opera was called All My Children, and that started in 1949. Wow. Now, speaking of All My Children, I'd like to introduce our first guest. Our first guest, our very special guest, and also my friend, is the very talented and beautiful on the inside and the outside, actor-director Cady McClain. Cady is best known for her roles in the soap world as Dixie on All My Children, Rosanna on As the World Turns, Kelly on Y&R, and Jennifer most recently on Days of Our Lives. But Cady does a lot of other things. She's had a long history in entertainment, and she's also an accomplished director who advocates for more females in that position. Welcome to the show, Cady.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. I'm so excited about being on the show. This is great. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you. It's great to see you. Great to see you almost in person. Almost in person. The best we can do right now. I have a question for all of you, and I want to know, do you watch soap operas? What do you watch? What have you watched? And what do you think about them? Beth, I'll talk to you first.
Okay, well, this is going to date me right away because I used to watch Ryan's Hope when I was in school. And of course, like everybody, I watched General Hospital, but I was a big fan of Laura with Scotty before Laura with Luke, who was really not a nice character at that time. That's how long I've been watching soap operas.
Wow.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Ileana, what about you?
You know, I really never got into soaps, but there was a year where I came home and it was now, school was out and I got hooked on General Hospital and it was like a sickness. It was like a sickness. But back then, you weren't, again, I'm dating myself too. You weren't DVRing anything. So, when I missed it, I missed it. And that was that. And then that's, I think, part of why I never really got hooked on anything other than that year when I was home from school.
And I'm kind of joking because everyone says I'm dating myself. Well, that's the whole purpose of this show. We're all the same age, so doesn't sound unusual to me. How about you, Cady? What do you watch?
Well, when I was growing up, I do remember Ryan's Hope particularly, and I remember the actor Larkin Malloy standing behind a table, and some lady who was all dolled up, right, with a tight dress. And he was chasing her around the table. And then I was like, what is this craziness? This is outrageous. I'm going to be a Shakespearean actress. And then lo and behold, I found myself in a tight dress being chased around the table by, some executive, crazy.
And had fun doing it, right?
I did. I had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. The New York shows were the ones I worked on probably the most, and they were just the most fun. We laughed a lot.
I heard about that. I wish, I did not get involved kind of in the soap world until they had all moved out of New York. But I hear stories about where they used to hang out and how much fun they used to have.
Yeah.
Messalina, I'm going to ask you now. What about your generation and soap operas? Is it a nasty word?
I would say no, it's not a nasty word. I would say I've not really watched any soaps because it just wasn't really part of, like, when I was growing up. As a kid, I would watch kid shows, and then once I got older, I remember as a teenager it was Gossip Girl, and so everybody watched Gossip Girl, and so there was definitely lots of drama and everything else going on in that. And then, like, as an adult, I have to admit I watch a lot of the CW's, like The Flash and Arrow, and in those shows they are like amazingly good at making everybody come back from the dead at some point, so they fit that bill, I guess. So that would be the closest that I would get to watching soaps. But no, I've not unfortunately watched the classics, but like, I've tried to find, like, I wanted to go back and like start watching them, and like it's really hard to actually access like older episodes of them, which is like really, like, I wanted to see stuff, so I've got to keep hunting and seeing if I can get access to more of like General Hospital and Days of Our Lives.
I think that there was a network. I don't know if it's still around, and there are places where you can see reruns, and sometimes they're still playing in other countries because they're behind. But that's interesting because I think there is a market for watching older soaps. But something like Gossip Girl, they stole from the soaps. It's a continuing drama. It's families, and it's the soaps that started that format. So
Yeah.
you are watching a soap. I'm gonna
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
And Zani, what about you?
Well, interesting enough, my daughter, who's 24, actually watched a lot of the newer generation soaps. So it's funny where I remember a lot of the soaps back from that era, but then the newer soaps, she's actually kind of brought me into the loop of it all. So it's kind of fun hearing some of those names like the CW and all of that. We were out in the Hamptons last summer, and she says, "Mommy, this is just like one of the episodes on the beach." So, I'm actually watching some of the newer stuff with my daughter, which is exciting.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I have 2 boys, so I'm the only one watching the soaps. And I would come home for lunch because we didn't have a cafeteria in my small school. So I walked a half a mile home to lunch, and I just was wiped from walking, and I sat in front of the TV. And I think at that time, what it was, The Doctors and Another World. And then after that, GH, when I was in college, the Luke and Laura and the Ice Princess story was the big thing. And we would plan our classes around when to watch the soaps. That's crazy now because you can watch them anytime you want, but that's what we had to do. Those are the lengths that we went to watch our soaps. And now I've been watching, Katie knows this, I've been watching Days of Our Lives since then. And I really I like following the families, and what what they say is they almost become your family. And of course they really don't, but it's something to keep you going and keep you entertained every day. And I think that's part of it. It's that there's something every day to look forward to. So we're going to talk now to an expert in soap operas, I would say, Katie, with your long career. So I'm going to let's start at the beginning. You started acting when you were 9. You landed your first role on All My Children when you were 19. How did you know that you wanted to act, and how did your mother support you in this?
That's such a great question, Suzanne. I think I was always a ham, those kids that are always goofing around and showing off. I was definitely one of those kids. And my mom was very encouraging. She was directing plays at my elementary school. So I got to be in the plays and, fun little roles like I think there was one called George Washington and the Red Bear, and I got to be the Red Bear. And I just really loved the applause and the risk and the light. And I was also taking dance classes as a kid. And I just cottoned to that experience of being in front of other people and trying to entertain them in some way. So a friend of mine, my dance class, had gotten into doing commercials. And so I asked my mom, "Hey, could I do commercials?" And she was like, let's figure this out. So she got a picture of me. I was doing a college play. I was in the chorus of The Music Man in Fullerton College out here in California. And she took a photograph of me, which was printed backwards with stage makeup on. I had like little ringlets. It was really a horrendous photograph, but she sent it she sent it out to all these children's agents in Los Angeles, and one of them called, and it happened to be Iris Burton, who is the biggest child agent in Los Angeles. And years later, I read a biography about Iris, and she was quoted to have said, I don't pick children unless they have an inner strength. And my children are the best children. I don't buy hamburger. It's only filet mignon. So immediately I had no idea that how crazy show business was, but she started sending me out on commercials, and I started doing those commercials. And my mom was very supportive. She had to drive me up to Los Angeles. We lived in Orange County at the time, and drive me back. And so for a good, I guess it was 6 years, she did that until we moved to LA.
Well, I think with a lot of young kids, there's something in them, and you see it pretty early on. And I'm glad that she noticed that in you, because she certainly was correct that this would be your future. I want to talk about something that's a little difficult. I know that you lost your mother at a very early age to cancer, and it was when you just landed. You should have been in the height of your excitement and your young life, that you just got on All My Children with this fantastic role, and you were dealing with the loss of your mother and her battle with cancer. How did that affect you?
Well, we moved to New York when I was 17, and very soon thereafter, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was at that time I realized, because she was a single mom, that I was going to have to take care of her. I had to change my thinking in terms of what I wanted to do for a living. And I just thought, oh my gosh, the soaps, they're the most steady job that there is available in show business. And so I just went around trying to audition for soaps. And, it's a funny thing, because it really was a perfect place for me. I think, although her illness was really a tragedy, and it was very difficult to be working and taking care of her at the same time. It was a blessing for me to be able to have landed on All My Children and to have gotten that role. It was a very safe place, and I made a lot of friends, and very stable environment for someone who was going through something difficult.
Wow. Well, it's funny how things work out. I'm glad, that the job came at the right time, and your mother got to see you get this role, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. She did.
As a mother, I'm sure, I just can't imagine how happy she was.
And she got to watch me when she was home, which was kind of fun for her too, and I got to emote for her in some ways. We had a very close relationship. So it kind of worked out all the way around. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mother's Day soon. We all remember our mothers, Eliana, do you have a question for Cady?
I do. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about the beauty, the glam, the fun of being a working actor on a soap? And although there's only 4 daytime soaps remaining, what was it like being a part of this genre when it was this crazy, wild fandom?
I'll tell you, one of the most fun memories I have is, I think it was the Daytime Emmys, and they would shut down the streets around Radio City Music Hall, and they would drop us off nearby. Or some people like to pull up in front. We decided to walk down, I think it was like 46th Street, and then maybe it was 49th Street. It was where the Ziegfeld Theater is. I forget what street that is. And then a little bit of Fifth Avenue, walking down the middle of the street in a fabulous outfit and my grandmother's mink and high heels and the men all gorgeous and in tuxedos. And we were just like, you couldn't feel more fabulous than that. New York City, going to Radio City Music Hall to the Daytime Emmys. It was pretty glam. Yeah, that was fun. It was fun.
I actually went to the Emmys, so I know exactly what you're talking about. They shut the street down. I was one of those on the other side of the fence watching everyone. And I think one of those years, or probably the last year they did it, when New York City was when it was raining. And none of those actresses were happy about that rain coming down. And that's when they said, we're going to LA.
Ah,
That's
But
why.
yeah, that was huge. That was a fun time for New York City.
yeah. Although just a few years ago, 2015, they had it at Paramount Studios. And that was like height of LA glam for me, for sure, because it was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. It's a little hot, but it was still like walking up a beautiful red carpet to this gorgeous studio that's all decked out and, round tables and decor. And it just felt so like Hollywood. That was a Hollywood glam. Paramount Studios, Emmys. Why? What's happening? It's really cool.
Yes, those award shows are fun.
Yeah.
So let's see. Messalina, do you have a question for Katie?
I do. So you're married to Jon Lindstrom, who's on General Hospital. And I was wondering, how did that romance begin?
That's such a sweet question. We actually met on the set of All My Children back in 2001. And then an actress named Finola Hughes said, I have to, and we were just about to be like, what's your number? And she interrupted us and she said, John, I have to talk to you. And so he went off that way. And I remember turning to Julia Barr and going, damn, he's cute. And years later, I think it was 2009, I saw him walk down the hall on the set at As the World Turns. And I went, oh, he's back. How interesting. And we ended up playing divorcees together. So we became good friends for about a year, and then we started dating, and the rest is history.
Oh.
What advice would you give to a young woman who wants to act or direct, as you are doing now?
It's a very difficult business, I would say. And so really prepare yourself with a support system. Make sure you're not just trying to figure this all out by yourself. Like, make a core team of friends, or find friends that are also have similar or the same goals as you, so you can share information. So much of what I do now as a director is I try to have time, at least with some women I know, that so we can ask them, like, hey, did you use scriptation, or did you, what program did you use for this? How are you, sharing your script around? And that's just, it also makes you feel not as alone, because it's hard to break in. It's really hard to break in. And so that would be my biggest advice, is get a support group, or find a support group and start sharing, so you're not out there all by yourself.
Absolutely. And what about somebody older who wants to change careers, perhaps, and go into the entertainment industry? Is that an impossible feat at that point?
I don't think anything's impossible. I think if you have a story that you love, that's probably the best way to do it. And then start really writing and studying, what scripts are getting picked up. But if you want to work in, PR, I mean, Suzanne will probably be the better person to give you advice about that. But or be a producer. I think it's simply about learning the tools of the trade, and again, getting to know people and putting yourself, like going to film festivals, meeting other people that are doing the same thing.
What about people that are older and say want to be a background actor? How would we go about doing that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. You got me there. I really don't know. I think you have to find, it depends. Like, you have to kind of work your way in, find people that are shooting independent films in your area, and then kind of make yourself known to the production company, I guess, and say, hey, do you have any need for any backgrounds? I mean, you really got to hustle in this business. You got to tell people what you want and who you are. And and if they say, oh no, you're this, you have to be, nope, I'm this, this is what I love. Or they'll tell, that's what we say, like, tell them who you are and what you want before they tell you who you are and what you want.
What's your future goals and endeavors as it relates to the entertainment industry?
I love acting, and I will do it for sure if the opportunity comes around. But lately I have been chasing this script that I have co-written with a guy who wrote the play. We adapted the screenplay, and it's a story about a female artist and her two lovers. And Suzanne saw the play version. We did a live theatrical invite-only performance in New York, which we filmed, and it's called Paint Made Flesh. And I love this story so much, which is why I'm just hanging with it. We have a producer, Deborah Tell-Pratt, who's on board. I just finished the lookbook today, which is so much work. And we got all these pieces of the puzzle. You have to get the budget, make a lookbook, and polish the script. And we submit the script to different screenplay festivals. We were the quarterfinalists at the Blue Cat Screenplay Festival, which is great. So we're just sort of driving that one forward, and hopefully all the pieces will come together, and I'll be shooting in 6 months and being like, I need some background actors.
We're all ready for you.
All right, good.
So Cady, I need to talk to you about your directing. Seeing is Believing Women Direct is a fantastic documentary that has won awards on the Film Festival circuit. And it profiles so many emerging and popular female directors to get the word out about this as a profession for females. Now, tell me, when did you get an interest in directing rather than being just on camera?
I started becoming excited about being a director in my early 20s, but because my mom was sick, it was just not something that I could pursue. So it wasn't until my early 40s that with the encouragement of my husband and a friend, did I write a short film and direct that short film. And I loved it so, so much. I directed another one 4 months after that. And then I started hearing all those statistics come out about how women weren't getting hired and how this wasn't really a profession for women. And, good luck getting a job as a director if you're female. And I was just getting excited about this as an opportunity to shift from acting to directing. And so I was like, well, if you're going to be in this, you're going to either be at the effect of it and just be like, I guess I'm not going to follow this stream, or I'm going to do something about it. And so I decided to do something about it. God help me. and I started making this documentary. And the great thing that has happened, that almost every one of the women that I got to interview, I just started interviewing women. I didn't have a script. I didn't have a plan. I bought a camera. I taught myself how to use it. And I started interviewing women. One of the women, for example, her name's Naima Ramos Chapman. She had just done her first short film. I think it's 4 years later now, since I've interviewed her. That short film is now on the Criterion Collection.
Wow.
That's great.
Her first short film. Wow. And I was just and she came into it late too. She late-ish. I mean, I think she was in her mid-30s when she started directing. She'd been a journalist and a dancer and tried many other professions. And this is where she found her voice. And it was just so exciting to see Leslie Lincoln Gladders just won her first ZGA award for Homeland. Mm-hmm. Or Sarah Gavron, she had a hard time with Suffragette, but then she did another one called Rocks, and she won the BAFTA for that. So it's just Lizzie Borden. I mean, my gosh, her second feature film is now finally being recognized as the groundbreaking film that it's called Working Girl, or Working Girls. Not like the one from the old, like from the 80s, but this one, it was like from the early 80s. She made this film about women who worked in the sex trade, and both her films are now in the Criterion Collection. So it's this really gratifying moment to see these women and to be able to have interviewed them, to see how they persevered, which was the whole point of the documentary, was to show other women who have persevered against all odds, for years and years and years, not giving up their dream, trying to tell stories, trying to be filmmakers in a difficult industry, and all different kinds of women and all different kinds of storytellers. So that has been the purpose of the documentary, and we've had a wonderful. We're on PBS, and we're on Canopy. So if you have Canopy and a library card, you can watch it for free. And we're in talks with another distributor now. So I'm just so pleased that it's being of service to women who might have a story to tell and need a little encouragement to use their voice to tell it.
Yeah, it's a really wonderful documentary, and it showed at a film festival that Katie and I were at, and one of the ladies afterwards came up and just told me how deeply affected she was by it. And I think that in the time since you created that, we went through the Me Too movement. We've seen Chloe Zhao win as Best Director. I think there's just been an incredible amount of progress made in just the past couple of years, and your documentary is part of the reason why. So thank you for that, Katie.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's just I've been so glad that I said yes to the journey.
So I want to ask now on a lighter subject. I want to ask Katie, and then I want to ask everyone else. Given that the pandemic is hopefully dwindling, or things are getting a little better, what all of us, something that we're looking forward to doing, or even without a pandemic, I'm going to rephrase that. Your idea of a perfect day.
I always have to go with the first thing that pops into my head, and it would be to get up, to sleep in. It's like without the dog or the cat, that's always the greatest thing. And then as soon as possible, go to one of those old-fashioned style ice cream parlors and just chow down. That's what I want to do. I just want a big bowl of ice cream with everything, and then just sit there and eat it, and then maybe go sit on the beach, and then maybe see a movie. That'd be a good day.
I would say it's about the same for me, a beach, ice cream. So what about you, Beth?
I want to go someplace new. I want to travel. I want to see something that I haven't seen before, especially this year when we stayed in our safe place. And often that was our house or our backyard, or even walking. I stayed in the same path all the time. I just want to get up and see something new, see faces I haven't seen before, and talk to people that can share something new.
I just want to get on a plane and pack clothes that's either winter or summer, and just tell the pilot, just take me somewhere. Just anywhere. Just take me somewhere. Yeah, to travel, like Beth, to just get on a plane and be able to go somewhere and just travel somewhere.
I want to be in the ocean. Like, I don't like to sit on the beach. I want to be swimming for like the whole day. And then once it's like evening, then loads of yummy food and like a fire and making s'mores and hanging out with like my husband and family. That would be like a perfect day.
Sounds really nice. Zani, what about you?
I miss street fairs.
Oh.
So I want to go to a nice street fair. I want funnel cake. I want sausage and peppers. And I want to stand to people. I want to haggle over jewelry. And I just want to bump into people again and hug people again.
Yeah, I can see that. I agree. I would add to my list everything that all of you said. So, and we'll all do it. We'll all do it soon enough. So our time is running out now. So for today, for our charity shout out, Katie is going to talk to us about her favorite charity.
My favorite charity is Kids in the Spotlight, which is an incredible program here in Los Angeles, founded by a woman named Taiji Charity. And Kids in the Spotlight helps foster youth tell their stories through filmmaking. So we have an event actually happening tonight, talking about healing from the wounds of foster care. And they're going to show 3 films, one of which is a documentary that I made for them and with them, called Burnt Feathers, Broken Wings, about 4 foster teens struggling with addiction and their hopes and dreams for them, for their lives in the future. So I love Kids in the Spotlight. It's a really special charity, and I hope everybody checks it out.
And we can see that movie someplace, right? Can you tell us where we could see Burnt Feathers?
Yes, it's on IndieFlix. I'm very excited about that. So if you go to IndieFlix and search Burnt Feathers or Kids in the Spotlight, it'll pop right up.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful working with children like that, foster children. And what a great way to get them motivated about life, getting them involved in filmmaking. So thanks for your work with them, Katie. So
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
that's it for our show today. I want to thank Katie for being with us, Cady McClain, and all of our hosts today. And I just want to leave with for everyone every single day to find some joy and give some joy. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Wake up with a smile